Hey, y'all, this is Robb back with the Filthy Rags Outreach, doing the Robb Report. Before we get started today, I just wanted to, I know I sound like I got a lot of energy in my voice, but it's been up and down week, month, couple weeks, you know what I'm saying? So I want to just give all praise to the Most High for just allowing me to be here today, you know what I mean? And, I want to just start by saying today was my man Peso's funeral, so I wanted to just start off with a rest in peace on that. I don't really know how everything went on that, so I'm definitely going to let Jessica update on that because she actually made it to the funeral today, but we, this last week, we had another death at the prison, and so I just want to, just send my condolences out to my guy Fluffy's family, you know what I'm saying, and it's all bad, and one of the things that I take pride in is because, I don't know exactly for sure what happened to my guy, but, there's some rumblings that it may have been because of some of the sanitizers and the different things that are in the trays that they're not cleaning, and one of the things that I take pride in is that I reported it first here about the sanitizers and the different inhumane things that are happening in the prison, because I try to keep it real and I just try to keep you guys abreast of what goes on behind these walls because you guys don't see it out there, So I just wanted to say again, rest in peace to my guy Peso, man. I was just thinking about him last night. I was out on the yard and I was just running and Champ pushed up on me and he was like, man, I see you out here running. And I was like, man, really, honestly, I'm just thinking about Peso. And it's just been really hard, with just dealing with the family and stuff, stepmoms are still sick, and not doing well, but I just ask everybody out there, just continue to keep praying, for my stepmom too, shout out to my stepmom, Shaniva, I love you, and, it's just really, it's really hard on the soul right now, so, just also pray for me too, also I just wanted to say even in these hard times, you still have to be cognizant of the people around you. So if you guys are out there, tell the people around you that you love them. Don't take nothing for granted. If you love somebody, say it, because I'm up in here and I just want to say, there was this elder man that was up in here and I seen him the other day and, he was nodding, and so I said to him, hey, brother, you all right? And he was like, yeah, I'm all right, but I could see something was wrong, and I said, brother, you sure you all right? And he was like, yeah, I'm all right, but it just bothered me, and, a couple days went by, so I seen him again, and I said, hey, brother, listen, I don't mean no disrespect, man, but I seen you the other day, and it looked like you was gonna pass out, man, and I don't want you to feel like I'm coming at you any old kind of way. And then he actually disclosed to me, and he said, hey, man, I'm not gonna lie to you, man, I'm old, I'm 67 years old, and I never got my cancer checked, and so they've been removing pulse out of me, and he kind of gave me the real, and I was like, well, listen, brother, I just seen that, and I wanted to be there to help you, and he just felt like people don't care around us, so he didn't want to disclose that, and I just let him know. I said, hey, man, nah, man, I care. I see everybody up here, and I'll stop everything I'm doing to make sure you're okay, so don't ever feel like we can't talk, so, if there's people around you guys out there too, man, just, tap in with them, you know what I mean? Pray for them, let's pray for the world, you know what I mean? It's so much going on and the devil is really winning out there, and, I was thinking about that too, and like I was telling Champ last night when we was on the yard, I told him, I said, man, a lot of times people criticize the work that I do on here because they want me to be more spiritual, but the way I look at it, anytime I get on here and I do what I do, I'm stomping on the devil's head. You know what I'm saying? Because the devil don't want me doing this. He don't want me talking about nonviolence and how to stop the violence in the community. So it's like, I don't really care what the next guy thinks because, I'm trying to take the devil out. You know what I'm saying? With the stuff that I'm doing and the stuff that I'm talking about. So let that be that. You know what I mean? But anyways, on to some other stuff. Let me just talk about one of my homeboys is going to be going up for court here pretty soon. And if anybody out there wants to give some support, or if you're from the Tacoma area, my homeboy T-Lay is going up to court next month on the 17th. His name is Johnny Morris. I'm going to try to get him on the show next week so he can talk a little bit more about what he's going through. He's going to be at the Pierce County Superior Court under Judge Orlando, courtroom 334, and basically he's going to be looking for a downward departure. And I know a lot of you guys don't know what that type of stuff means, but one of the things I want to do with this Filthy Rags Outreach too is I want to be able to educate, and make sure that people know. And one of the things that I was just talking to Jessica about and I talked to Champ about was I had spoke to my mom. She'll probably be mad at me. My mom's name is Joanne, but I'm going to say this. So, me and her was talking on the phone the other day, and she was talking about how she saw on the news how all the prisoners are getting out and they're causing all the violence and they're killing people and they're doing these different things out in the neighborhood. And I'm like, yo, hold up. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that's not what it really is. I mean, obviously, we have people that are getting out of prison, but what they're not telling you is that, these guys have been releasing all these nonviolent offenders, and, a lot of the nonviolent offenders, they haven't done any time, and they're on drugs and different things of that nature. So now they get out next, they're going to go do an aggravated robbery or a murder for some money or some stuff like that. And so they're not telling you the whole story. They're telling you the truth, but they ain't telling you the whole story, And so, like, my mom doesn't know about recidivism, and I know a lot of you guys out there that listen, you don't know about recidivism and these different things. But one of the things I wanted to do today was I wanted to try to make this just a little bit more educational for you guys. And I got a special guest that's going to come on today, and his name is Brian Matthews. And Brian, he made a book, and it's called Washington State Criminal Case Law, and he calls it Citations Anointed, you know what I mean? And I'm going to have him come on, and he can talk about it himself, but it's Case Law Citations Anointed, and it's essential on-hand work tools for anybody in the state of Washington who needs access to key criminal law citations. With over 20 years of legal research under his belt, Brian put the book together and presents over 800 anointed criminal case law citations. You know what I'm saying? Over his 20-year journey, he's done like pro se litigation. One thing I can say about Brian too is that he got hella lawsuits for people for injustices and different things like that. And I'm talking about in the thousands. So I mean, this dude actually knows what he's talking about. And so his tools are useful. You know what I'm saying? For even attorneys need quick citations while in court, or for paralegals conducting research, for pretrial detainees awaiting trial, for appellants litigating their own appeals, and for prisoners, you know what I'm saying? But also, the reason why I wanted to bring him on here today, too, is because, people out there don't really understand, like, when we get in these court systems, they don't understand how we get locked up and you only have a year to fight your appeals. So I wanted him to get on here today because his book talks about, like, ineffective assistance of counsel, Brady violations, actual innocence, prison disciplinary hearings, due process, invalid judgment and sentences, insufficient evidence, withdrawals of guilty pleas, and different things of that nature, and then also, like, for people like my mom that don't know about recidivism and different things like that, I want to put him on here, but also I want him to have his information readily available for anybody that may have a kid or anybody that's going to be going through the judicial system, and you have questions and you can't afford counsel or different things of that nature, you might need to reach out to this guy and say, hey, this is what I'm going through, can you just lead me in the right direction? You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to get him on here shortly, you know what I'm saying? But another thing I want to talk about with some of the work we're doing, and shout out to my guy 8-Ball too. You know what I'm saying? My guy Orlando, Orlando Ames, I had Tank on here a couple days ago, and Tank is like one of my mentors, but Orlando is also one of my mentors. When I met Orlando, we was over at Monroe, and Orlando, he's a pretty big brother, you know what I'm saying? He's also built like a tank, except for he lifts mad weights. And everybody was respecting him in the prison system. And so, like, I met the brother, and I'll never forget. I met him. I'm like, yeah, my name's this and that. We talked for a few seconds, and then it was time for mainline about 3 hours later, and I seen him sitting at the stairwell, and I said, hey, bro, who you looking for? And he said, I'm waiting on you. I was like, what's up? And he was like, we're going to rotate. And then we start talking, we start going to school, we start building ourselves up, we start competing to get A+ and different things like that. And so he was a mentor to me. But I bring him up because, my bro, unfortunately, my bro Alfonso's son was shot this week. And, I reached out to 8-Ball to try to help stop some of that violence out there, and he hit back, and he wants to really get out and do some of this work out there, in these streets and stop a lot of gun violence. So just shout out to my guy 8-Ball, man. I really appreciate you, man. And you really helped me become the man I am, too, as far as putting me in this lane. And I'm really serious about the work I do, you know what I mean? So also I wanted to say shout out to my guy Wally Anthony Powers, too. We've been trying to do this work at Filthy Rags for a while. Like, me and Jessica, we reached out to, I can't even remember his name right now, but he's one of the main guys that has the Facebook and all that stuff. And what we were trying to tell them guys is like how the violence is being perpetuated through this Facebook. Oh, it was Mark Zuckerberg. And he never hit us back. But what we were trying to do was trying to figure out how we can stop a lot of this online gang violence that's going on, because it's really what's driving the violence out there. And it's like, yo, how are you guys letting this stuff happen? And then you guys see people threaten each other's lives and you don't shut their Facebooks and these different things down. But I had talked to my guy Wally this week, because he's working and doing a lot of stuff with Microsoft in these different places. And basically, when he goes back out there to do his little stuff, he's been going out to like Georgetown University and different places. He's going to try to connect with these people so he can figure out how we can start putting safeguards in place to save our community and stop these kids from beefing on these computers and different things. So I just want people out there in the world to know that, like, we're really doing this work up in here. We're really trying to figure stuff out. We're really looking at what's going on in these streets with this gang violence and saying, hey, how can we get really involved and how can we stop this stuff? How can we get to the root of what's going on? And right now, a lot of the violence is going on with these computers. And I also take pride in the fact that we reported that first on Filthy Rags Outreach with my boy LG. I think like last year, we were talking about how this violence is being driven. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to Wally again for helping us out. And also, I want to just say this, too. There's another lady out there that has not responded to us. And you're doing the work out there, Tara Simmons. You know what I'm saying? I'm calling you out real quick. You know what I'm saying? Because we done reached out to you because we want to do some of this work, and we know that you have a good pulse on the community. You know what I'm saying? And we can do some really good work together, you know what I'm saying? Without the thing I talked to Wally about is that we don't want people getting arrested or them building legislation to put you in prison. That's not the goal. The goal is that we want to try to shut this stuff down so we can get safer streets. And you got some things going on out there too, you know what I'm saying? So we calling you out. We want to work with you, you know what I'm saying? Because we know that we can get some things done, you know what I'm saying? So hit us up. Jessica, give her your information again.
The email address is jessica@filthyragesoutreach.org.
All right. Okay, I think I was tripping. Was I tripping? I ain't tripping. Hey, talk to these guys for real, though, and I get very passionate, you know what I'm saying, because, like, I do respect the work that she does out there. But the thing of it is that Tara got to understand, you got haters and we got haters, you know what I'm saying, but we doing the work and you're doing the work. And that's what it really comes down to, you know what I'm saying? So when we're trying to stop the violence and these different things and we can help each other, we need to help each other. Don't just look at it like, oh, no, I ain't going to work with you guys because you're locked up. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of real work coming from inside these walls. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, let's talk about some updates with you, Jessica. I think you guys, now let's start with the funeral. How did that go? Let's talk. Let's start there. How did everything go?
Yeah, it was beautiful, really emotional. There was a lot of people. It was beautiful and sad. Yeah, I had to check back some tears.
Yeah, man, it's been rough. It's been really rough. It's still so hard. It's still really so hard to believe, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, even when I started drawing, it was like, just that energy, just that giggle, that he has. And he just come down the stairs. He'll always, because I got a table that sits right over the stairwell, and he'll always lean over that table. Then it's like, what's up, bro? Where we at with it? You know what I'm saying? That's that little slang for what's up, though. And then he'll always shoot a positive vibe, you know what I'm saying? And it's missing. It's missing, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's so hard, because you expect him to come out his cell. And then it was another thing that really pissed me off up in here is that as soon as he passed away, everybody was making a power play for his cell. Like, we got people in here that are so dumb that they didn't even care. They just want his cell because he had a big cell. And the sergeant had told me, she was like, man, I don't want to talk to nobody because everybody's just running up and they just want his cell. Like, they don't, man, so it's just crazy, man. It's so crazy. Oh, man, but yeah, I miss my bro, man. I really do, and that's the thing. Like, I just don't take nothing for granted, the people I'm around, and then also I feel like God's really talking to us. But one thing I will say about Peso is that now that I know that you're in a good place, I know that me and you always talked about not selling out, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to always try to tap in with your Fly Start organization, and I know that you're going to be watching over me, and I'm not going to sell out. And if you think I'm selling out, you send me a sign. You know what I'm saying? Straight up, bro. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Well, our guest is here, so would you like to?
Oh, okay. Brian's here. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to get some updates later. Brian, what's up, bro? How you doing?
Well, I am doing spectacular. Thank you for asking. But please don't change the topic on account of me, because Peso was also a friend of mine, and I called in and gave a speech at his funeral today. So much love to Peso.
Oh, really?
We're gonna miss and remember him. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, listen. Check this out, Brian. Please update the people as far as what happened at the as far as your speech and everything. And by the time you get done updating the people on that, I'll be right back on the horn and we'll get on with it.
Absolutely. So, from what I understand, it was an event. It was a celebration of life for Corey, and his mom had asked me to call in at an approximate time. So I called in. They weren't ready. They were running a little slow. I called back, and from what I could tell, they put me on speakerphone and then put me on an amplifier system or something through the speakerphone. And I was afraid that there was too much echo or whatnot, so I didn't know if I was speaking loud enough or if I was talking too softly or what. So I just did the best that I could, and I gave a synopsis of how I met Corey and, how our initial talks turned into deeper talks right away, and we just ended up collabing together. I helped him start up FlyStart, did the organizational papers for him. Sat down and talked to him, told him what was realistic with regards to his vision and his mission. And after he got his certificate of incorporation and other charter documents, he took off with it. And him and his mom, they ended up working well together. So what I was trying to do was just give everybody a glimpse of the growth and the change that was going on with Peso from inside prison. There's a lot of negativity and there's a lot of easy ways to stay stagnant, and it's very hard to be positive and productive and to actually contribute to society from inside of a prison cell. And I wanted to express how much effort it took for him to do that and how much growth he went through in finding out how frustrating it was to work with your family and your loved ones, to have board meetings over collect phone calls, to be frustrated with the entirety of the world seeming to sit against you. And he was still able to grow, and he came to appreciate being able to work with his family, friends, and loved ones, to listen to other people's ideas, to take input and realize that, corporations and organizations are not dictatorships. They're more like republics, and everybody should have the ability to speak their peace of mind and insert their 2 cents, as it were. So I hope that it went over well. I was just trying to give a glimpse at him from inside here, so that way, the people that have been missing him or that haven't been able to come up and see him or be a part of his life, knew he was consistently making strides in becoming the best version of himself that he could. And I thought that was important at his celebration of life. So that was my input at the funeral today.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Everybody really liked what you said. We had a couple other guys call in. We did a recording. About 4 guys called in, and we played that, and then you called in, and yeah, you're right, you were on speakerphone, and they had a microphone up to the phone, so they had that
right
up on stage, and everybody clapped, and everybody took what you said, and it was really great. You did a good job.
Cool.
Well, I didn't even know you did that, right? But it's like, man, it's dope. It's dope. And one of the things that I know is that, a lot of cats, even though there's a lot of cats that was over here running up for his cell and stuff like that, there's so many people institutionalized. They want to be here. Like, that cell matters to them because they want to be locked up. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to look at being free. You know what I'm saying? But that was my guy. You know what I'm saying? And they wanted me to have the cell. I'm like, hell no, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not important. That's not even important to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, at all. You know what I'm saying? I just want to wake up every day, and try and start and hit the reset button and just do the right things and wait for my day to come up out of here. And, Brian, while I got you on the horn, you know what I'm saying? I want to talk about, I kind of gave these guys a lot about you, and you wrote a new book, but I want to go backwards real quick. I want you to just, because obviously you already introduced yourself, but you've been doing a lot, and I talked about how you've helped people get lawsuits and these different things. I just want to know what even made you want to start dealing with law and just even breaking this stuff down, because it's so hard and tedious. What made you even just start doing this type of stuff?
I got frustrated at my appellate attorney treating me like I was a piece of shit and not answering my phone calls and not answering my questions and not addressing the concerns that I had, or, you know, it felt to me like I was on the back burner. And, you know, fast forward 24 years, I get now, you know, these attorneys have big caseloads and it's emotionally taxing to help people. But that was my initial start, was I hated that feeling. I hated being felt like helpless, if that's even the right word for it. You know, to be stuck in a system with a long time sentence and you feel like you're swimming in quicksand. It's hard to breathe and you're fighting for your life, but you're depending on your life fight to be from somebody who's not even staying in contact with you or taking what you say to be serious, or talking to you like you're somebody lesser because you don't understand the aspects of the law or how to speak their secret code language. So that frustration lit a fire under my ass, and I started learning. Back in 1999, I started going to the law library, and I found right away that this stuff came easy to me. Like, it didn't come super easy, but like I got it right away, and I would be able to read something and get an understanding of it, and then I would read it again, and I would read it again, and I would read it again. And the more that I read something, or the more that I familiarized myself with something, the better I got at actually being able to know what the law was. So that was the initial start. And after I started getting to the point where I was able to win my own personal restraint petition back in 2002, people started taking notice. And so they started asking me questions. And when I was able to give people the correct answers, or at least the starting points on where to start looking at answers for themselves, it felt good to help the people that needs the help the most. And we took off from there. And it's been a never-ending journey ever since.
Right on, yeah. And I was telling these people, I was just making sure all our listeners know, like, and there's a difference between doing criminal law and you are suing a lot of people too, you know what I'm saying? Like, and getting, I don't know what the exact word is for it, but those are two different kind of laws. So could you just kind of just speak to that real quick?
Yeah, so there's multiple layers of the law, and there's multiple fields of the law. You know, you got real estate law, corporate law, tax law, business law, trademark law, copyright law. The primary two that we deal with in prison are criminal law and civil law. And most of the civil law is couched under federal statute 42 U.S.C. section 1983, because we have protections that the courts, the federal courts and the state courts, can and will, in certain circumstances, still enforce if the prison or the prison agents are violating those rights. So the criminal side of it is obviously the criminal statutes, and our appeals focus on the mistakes that may have been made either during trial or during other parts of our appeal. You know, perhaps our attorneys didn't do a good enough job or raise what we wanted them to raise, or adequately argue what we want them to argue. Or sometimes it takes years for us to get enough money or enough support to get an investigator hired in order to go out and actually interview the witnesses that our trial attorneys didn't get for us. And we can file personal restraint petitions, which is my field. You know, there's that whole side of things with regards to the criminal side. The civil side, not only are we protected on some of our constitutional rights and some of our federal statutory rights as prisoners, just because we've come to prison, we don't lose all of our rights. There's some rights that are so fundamental and go and cut to the very heart of just being humane, that those rights will always be protected by the courts, whether it's state or federal. And a lot of the actions that we can file in federal and state courts are under federal statutes 42 U.S.C. section 1983. There are also various state civil actions that we can file. I've had to file federal HIPAA laws in order to tune up our medical department here for being out of compliance with HIPAA law and state medical health laws. I've had to sue DOC under the public records law. We're allowed to utilize the public records law if certain state agencies or the Department of Corrections are not being compliant with the state statutes with regards to disclosing public records. The Criminal History Records Act is another civil law. Even though it covers your criminal history and the records of your criminal history, you can bring a cause of action there in order to enforce your civil rights. So just because we come to prison, it doesn't mean that we have no rights. We still have some rights, albeit limited, but those rights that we do have are vigorously guarded when you can properly present them and when your claims are properly given to the courts.
Right. Thank you for breaking that down. Now, I want to kind of move on a little bit and talk about your book, and the thing of it is that what's absolutely incredible is, first I want you to talk about the book, but most people think that, like, we're wasting time in prison, or we're not doing anything, or we're stupid, you know what I'm saying, or we're the worst thing ever, you know what I'm saying, but you just put together a book full of case laws and different things that's almost like next to impossible. You know what I'm saying? I don't know anybody else has done it. You know what I mean? But I want you to kind of talk about both at the same time. Like, a lot of times they think that we're wasting our time in here. We're not doing anything. But like you opened up and you were talking about how you helped my bro get his nonprofit, but you've also got things that you've been working on. So if you could kind of just talk about you for a minute and the stuff that you've been doing with your nonprofits and how you even got to this point where you said, hey, I'm going to write this book.
Absolutely. And excellent question. I appreciate that you're asking this question of me because this is something that I'm kind of passionate about for the most part. And Rob, I think that you can agree with this. People time. I can tell you right now, there's domino masters here. There's Monopoly masters here. There's people whose puzzle games are so on point they can put 1,000-piece puzzles together every day. There are people that sit and do nothing and twiddle their thumbs. Some of us realize that we took from society. Some of us realize that the only way that we're going to be successful in our reintegration into society is to not come out as a pissed off prisoner with a A+1 YOLA domino game. That's not going to get us nowhere in the corporate arena. That's not going to get us nowhere on a job interview. So we start looking and we start saying, okay, what is it that we can do from in here? Now, they were writing us up here. I don't know if you remember this, Rob. They were writing us major infractions for running our businesses while we were inside. And people were getting majors left and right under DOC policy 200.000 for unauthorized contract is what they called it. And I've had businesses since 2006. When I was out on bail on one of my appeals in 2008, I incorporated a couple more nonprofits that are still active to this day. So I started looking into this, and I found out that business is a property right, and we have a state constitutional provision and a state statutory provision that prohibits us from losing any of our rights or interests in any of our property, and it specifies whether we're real property or personal property just because we've been convicted. And the only exception to that is if you can show that your conviction is related to the property at issue, i.e. if I'm a drug dealer and I bought this BMW with drug money, then obviously I'm going to lose my rights to that BMW. But if I got into a bar fight with somebody and I knocked somebody's tooth out and I got an assault too and I got to go do some time, I don't lose my house for a conviction of an assault too because it didn't have anything to do with my crime. And so I looked and I found this constitutional provision under our state constitution, and I found this statute under our state statutes. And I went and I found case law from the United States Supreme Court that clearly announced that businesses are a property right. And I found one from the Ninth Circuit that says business is a property right. And I found one from the Washington State Supreme Court that says business is a property right. And I found one from all three divisions of the Court of Appeals for Washington State that says business is a property right. And so I petitioned the Secretary of the Department of Corrections with the declaratory ruling. And I said, hey, here's the problem. Your officers are down here writing us up for running our businesses, but our businesses is a property right. And there's a state constitutional provision and there's a state statutory provision that specifically denotes that I don't lose my rights to any of my property, real or personal, upon conviction. And so what you're doing is you're writing us up for doing something that is protected by state constitution and state statute, which is illegal. So I need you to change your policy and change your practice and change your custom and stop writing us up for doing this. And about 20 days later, I got the letter back, and they said, thank you for writing us. You're absolutely right. You are not prohibited from running your businesses while you're incarcerated under the DOC, as long as you're not doing it to the threat and safety and security of the institution. So if your corporation is a bully protection organization and you're charging motherfuckers in prison to keep them safe, obviously DOC can have a problem with that, and you can still, get in trouble for that. But they changed the policy 2 years later at the next annual policy revision, and they said that you're no longer going to get in trouble for running your businesses or having your businesses while you're in prison. And furthermore, you can now have outside bank accounts, and furthermore, you can even have outside contracts, because contracts are also property rights. And the first step in getting towards to where everybody can run their business was I had to go and change DOC policy to make it legal, so we wouldn't be getting written up for running our businesses.
That's right.
So I guess that's a start. Not everybody in prison is business-minded, as we know. Not everybody in prison is motivated or forward-thinking or goal-oriented. But there's those of us that are. And so for those of us that are, and now that it's no longer a thing for us to get in trouble for running our business, we've started organizations. My first good organization that I started that was specifically aimed towards adding value to the lives of all prisoners and their family was the American Security Agency. We have a web presence, and on that site you'll find an exclusive list of resources that we went and hunted down over a period of 8 or 9 months. Anything that the newly released prisoner can think of as needing, i.e. driver's license application, social security application, birth certificate application, the address for all your birth certificate offices in America, i.e. anything else you can think of, the housing vouchers, the housing addresses, the work release addresses, anything that I could possibly think of as a newly released prisoner would need is on the resources page, and it's available for free for anybody to tap into. A while later, I got frustrated at not being able to have pictures of this beautiful artwork that we get put up. And I share this frustration with a lot of other people. And so the next organization that we started was inmateartwork.com. And inmateartwork.com started off as just an online prisoner gallery where anybody who makes anything in prison can send us pictures, and we'll post your pictures on the internet and promote it just so you can get your artistic voice heard. And we got so much of a response, and everybody started sending us pictures with questions. And the question primarily that was asked was, can we sell our art stuff on your site? And after we talked about it and had a couple board meetings on it, we said, okay, cool, here's what we don't want. We don't want to have a bunch of...
You have 60 seconds remaining.
But what we do want is we want to give the opportunity for these guys that make this stuff to start paying off their LFOs. And so we started the marketplace for inmateartwork.com, where the incarcerated prisoner can sell their artwork anonymously in order to raise funds to pay off their LFOs. And then once those are paid off, they can, buy their art supplies or send money to their families or whatever it may be. Again, not everybody's business minded like that. Some of them. Right.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
And my girlfriend's telling me I got 30 seconds. Am I supposed to call back?
Yeah. Yes, please. Just hang up and call right back. And I'm going to do the same.
Yep. I'll call you right back. Hello, everybody.
Yeah. So listen, check this out, Brian. Okay, everybody's coming back from yard, so that means our phone line's going to get full again. So I want to try to wrap us up in 20 minutes. So I want to try to fast forward, and everybody that listen to the podcast, they already know what's up. You know what I'm saying, right? But dig this. One of the things you're going to have to do afterwards, you're going to have to call back. You're going to have to talk to Jessica to make sure she can get some pictures and different things of you and get your information on the site. You know what I'm saying? That's first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? But I also was telling the people about the work you do and how sometimes, like when we go to court and different things like that, we're time barred. So I'm kind of fast forwarding into your book real quick, and I want to go over a couple of things real quick. Like people don't know what time bar means. Could you go into like what that means? And because it kind of goes into like some of the importance of some of the things that goes into your book. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So first off, I'm going to use this opportunity to plug the bigger of the two books that I've written. On October 1st, or by October 1st, I should say, my bigger, more lucrative book called The Personal Restraint Petition Manual will be available on Amazon.com, and it talks about everything that you could possibly think of inside of a PRP, including the time bar. Now that the plug's over, a time bar is a statutory scheme that we've written into our state laws. It's under RCW 10.73.090, and it says that once your judgment and sentence becomes final, then you only have 1 year from the date that it becomes final to file a personal restraint petition or other collateral attack. And collateral attack includes things like motion to withdraw the guilty plea, a 7.8 motion, a motion to arrest judgment, although that's under a different time frame, a habeas corpus petition, or something of those likes. Most everything that we file in prison is a personal restraint petition, and a lot of the stuff that's getting shut down is because it's being shut down on a PRP, or a personal restraint petition, for being filed too late. If you don't file your personal restraint petition or other collateral attack within the 1 year time limit, then the courts like to do what's called the time bar. And they say, okay, cool, you didn't file it in time, so now even though you have a valid claim, we can't reach your claim because you've been procedurally barred from actually filing this petition. That sounds callous, but the reasoning that they have behind that is because they promote finality in the judgments of our courts. And, you know, in the one sense, I say, okay, cool, but what about those of us who have valid issues? And, you know, it's been 3 years since our JNS became final. That's not finality in the judgment because my judgment is unjust. And on the other hand, you know, playing the devil's advocate, you got to draw a line in the sand somewhere and say, okay, listen, I'm not just going to give every person in prison 1,000 free tries. There's got to be a line drawn in the sand somewhere, and there has to be a limit. So they've come up with the statutory limit of the 1 year time bar. There are ways around the time bar. There's 9 specific ways around the time bar set by statute and 1 set by our court. The 9 specific ways by the statute in specific order are: your JNS is invalid on its face. It was entered by a court of incompetent jurisdiction. It exceeded the court's authority. Those are the 3 exemptions that are under 1073.090 itself. And then there's 6 specific exemptions that are set forth under RCW 10.73.100. And those are double jeopardy. The judgment is invalid on its face because you pled guilty or not guilty at trial and the evidence was insufficient. There's newly discovered evidence. Double jeopardy. Significant change in the law material to your case and a retroactive application to the actual holding from the state Supreme Court. The statute is unconstitutional either on its face or as applied to you, and that covers the 6 exemptions under 1073.100. And the last exemption that we have is a gateway exemption called the actual innocence doctrine. And even though you have the time bar, and the time bar is there for a reason, there's still ways to get around the time bar, and those are the ways.
Okay, now good. And I'm glad you brought that up. But the reason why I asked you that is because the people out there in the free world don't know nothing about this stuff. And I wanted you to specifically say something because, in my mind, the people on the outside should buy your book. And if they have somebody that's getting locked up or that's going through the court system, that's all the more reason for them to buy the book for that person so that these people understand their rights. Because what's happening is that when we get convicted, we got 1 year to figure this whole game out or we're screwed. You know what I'm saying? And so even if we didn't do something, you know what I'm saying? If we don't figure it out in 1 year, we're done. You feel me? And so, like, for me, I feel like there's an importance for people to get this information, to get these type of books in their hands and make sure that if they know that somebody's getting convicted or they're fighting their case, that they get this book to them. So that's what I brought it up for. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I know that you plugged your other book, but put your information out for this book, too, so that if people want to get this book, they know how to get the book.
So my first book is already available on Amazon.com. You can get it directly out there and shipped to anywhere where Amazon delivers. The title is called Washington State Criminal Case Law Citations Annotated. It has over 800 plus citations with descriptive annotations, and the author is myself, Brian Matthews, Matthews. The topics that are covered in this book are diverse, but I tried to cover everything that you could possibly think of because, like you said, Rob, most of the time we got a year to figure out a PRP or to figure out our 10.10 statement of additional grounds if we're going to try to do something to help our quote-unquote appellate attorneys file their briefs. And so what I tried to do was I tried to make a comprehensive book with as many different topics and the standing law as it sets today in my book. And the topics include the assistance of counsel, the ineffective assistance of appellate counsel, charging documents, newly discovered evidence, jury instructions, invalid judgments and sentences, same criminal conduct, invalid JNSs for the offender score calculations, abuse of discretion, resentencing, prosecutorial misconduct, and probably about another 100 more topics. I'm not going to sit here and name them all, but the book is 140 pages of single-spaced citations. And for instance, I'm just going to open up the book to page 51, and we talk about community placement, community custody. And the citation reads, community placement primarily furthers the punitive purposes of deterrence and protection. And then it has the case law next to it. The reason that's important is because sometimes people plead guilty irrationally based upon an attorney's rash, rushing you through your trial and, oh man, we're messed up. You got to plead guilty right now. You plead guilty, you immediately regret it. There's only certain ways you can get out of your guilty plea. One of those ways is to show that you received misinformation regarding a direct consequence. Community placement is a direct consequence. If they didn't give you correct information with regards to your community placement status, you were misinformed about a direct consequence, and you can use this case and this citation to put together a motion to withdraw your guilty plea within the 1 year time frame. What I wanted to do was I wanted to have an on-hand tool that was available for anybody who might need any of these topics for a quick flick reference, no matter what it is, whether it's you're waiting for trial in the county jail, or you just came to jail or to prison and you're working on your appeal and you want to file your statement of additional grounds 10.10, or I've got 7 pages of just how to handle DOC and their administrative bureaucratic red tape bullcrap that they put us through. I try to cover everything because I know that people need this out there, Rob.
Right. For sure. Hey, listen.
So it's not just for the selfishly. It's not just for the. Absolutely. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say this because I want to cover a couple more things, but selfishly, I want you to tell my mom something real quick because she's going to be listening, and she's going to be mad at me anyways. But the other day, she was watching the news, and so she was looking at all the violence and stuff, and so she was like talking about how the prisoners are getting out and they're committing this and that and the third. So I know a lot of people out there, they don't know about recidivism. So could you just, it's not just for my mom, but just for the people listening, can they understand, like, when a person does X amount of time, they're least likely to offend versus when they let these nonviolence out? Could you just speak to that real quick? So if they ain't hearing it from me, they hear it from somebody else.
So in my opinion, there's those of us who, I've been parked for 24 years. I got arrested in 1998, and except for a little stint that I got out on one of my appeal bails, I've been stuck inside the system since then. And it becomes a point to where we start changing within ourselves, and we understand that if we change our minds, then the world around us changes. We don't have to change the world around us to form the world to fit our description or our expectations. We learn to change our expectations in our paradigm of the world, and everything opens up for us. But not everybody gets it. A lot of the times when we come in, and I speak for myself, we come in and we're immediately groomed into the groups, and we're told and expected to adhere to this group norm of negativity and downtroddenness. And it's not about building you up, and it's not about doing anything positive or constructive. It's about literally sitting around and getting your domino game on point or your Monopoly game on point. And it's hard to break that cycle, but there are those of us that break that cycle, and a lot of that has to do with the amount of time that we do. At some point, you get to the personal place within yourself where you say, I'm tired of this fucking shit. What am I going to do to ensure that I don't come back? and then you do whatever is necessary to ensure that you're going to leave the person that you were when you came into prison as far behind you as you can, which means that you can't just change a couple of things. You got to shed your whole skin and change everything, because nothing that you were doing was working up to that point. It only comes with time. So these people that do this long amount of time, we have it set in our minds. Man, we've taken from society for so long. We've fucked up and we've ruined so much of our life already. I don't want to do anything which would put that in jeopardy ever again if I'm given the opportunity to have another chance in society. And so when those of us that have these types of mindsets get out, we already have successful websites and books, publications, and speaking engagements lined up that we can step right into. I'm going to plug a shout out to old Barry, Mr. freaking president of the NAACP speaker, step right out into a big role. Like, we can do this. We need to be given the individual chances and not grouped together as, oh, they're all just a bunch of pissed off prisoners. Don't let none of them out, because most of us aren't, especially those of us that have done a long time.
Right. I appreciate that. I definitely do, you know. And I said, like, I'd like to use this platform really to educate people, man. Like, that's my whole thing. And like you said it right, because like even when I get out there, you know, I want to be able to work in the community. I want to be able to touch kids. I want to be able to touch people. You know what I mean? I want to be able to not be the person that I was. Like, when people think of the old Robb and the new Robb, like, you know, even when the homies come here now, they be like, man, you changed. I'm like, yeah. They be like, I'm gonna go tell everybody you changed. I'm like, please do. You know what I'm saying? Yes, please go tell them I changed.
And,
you know what I mean?
And thank you for recognizing it. The water's wonderful over here. You should jump in and try it.
And they said like it's a bad thing, and I feel like it's a badge of honor for me to have changed and for you to know that I've changed, and like I'm not going back that other way. You know what I'm saying? But thank you for doing that for me, Brian. I want you to also, I want you to blast your information on here now to where everybody can get it audio. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to have to still give it to Jessica as well. But I want everybody to know how they can get a hold of you if you're in prison, whether it be on your website, whether it be on the JPay. How can they get a hold of you? Because I kind of like shamelessly kind of plugged you and said to the people out there, hey, if you're going through something, you need some advice or something, hit Brian up. You know what I'm saying? I hope that doesn't flood you up, and I hope that you're not upset about that. But we still need to have those avenues open. If somebody needs to reach out to you, how can they get a hold of you?
The easiest way in this technological age that we live in nowadays is to find me on JPay, Washington JPay. I'm at Stafford Creek Correction Center. My name's Brian Matthews, BrianMatthews. My DOC number is 796-769. If for some reason you don't want to pay the 17 cents for a JPay stamp, you can also reach me at the paralegal website that I write for, ParagonParalegals.org, and all you have to do is just leave a message to info@Paragon Paralegals, and I will get it. You can also reach me through the art website that we have set up, inmateartwork.com, and if you send an email to submissions@inmateartwork.com for Brian, I'll get it. And you can also do the old snail mail trick, 191 Constantine Way, H4A 102 Lower, and that is in Aberdeen, Washington, 98520. If there's any way that I can help anybody with what they're going through as it pertains to dealing with administrative bullcrap, or if any of your people are facing trial or are already in trial, need help with their appeals, get at me. This is what I do. I went to school for it. I'm very good at it. I've got a lot of experience under my belt, and I mean, if we're just going to talk about it, technically I'm an internationally renowned author on Washington state law, so here I am. Please let me know how I can help, because it's what we do.
Right. Hey, listen, and then also, and I know we talked a couple days ago, and I reached out to my homegirl. She's gonna hear this too. You know what I'm saying? Ruthie, what's up now? You know what I'm saying? And the thing of it was I reached out to her because you got a lot of stuff that you need help with running on the outside out there too. So you could also use some help if there was people that wanted to help with some of the stuff that you got going on out there. So like, let's utilize the time to speak about that.
Okay, absolutely. I know that our people on the streets have their own lives. They work, their mothers, their fathers, their brothers, their sisters. They're not concerned with sitting down and doing everything that we need when we need them to do it. You know, I personally get frustrated at times when stuff's not getting done as I need it to get done or as I expect it to get done. But I've learned over the years, like, I'm appreciative of just having people that are on the support network with me. So I have websites. I've got 5 websites, and my webmaster died, unfortunately, from COVID in December of 2020, and I haven't found anybody who's been worthy enough to put into a position of being webmaster and keeping these going. The first website, obviously, was the American Security Agency, and that's www.asa-wa.us. Yes, that is a .us. I did get clearance from the United States government to have a .us domain name. Thank you very much. The second website was inmateartwork.com, and that was to add value to the lives of all prison artists. The goal is to become the Facebook for all prison artists in America and hopefully eventually worldwide. Then we tackled the old pen pal website problem because, you know, these writer prisoners and these media inmates, which I use both of them. Like, don't let me sound like I don't. I use both of them, but not everybody, Rob, you know, can afford these $100 a year price tags to put these profiles on these sites and try to find pen pals. And so me and my webmaster designed a program called Prisoners for Pen Pals. It's Prisoners, Prisoners, number 4, Pen Pals, PENPALS.com. And we put ourselves out there as the best and affordable prison pen pal website out because we got sick of watching these big companies price gouge dudes that make $20 a month. You mean if I don't buy any Top Ramen or body soap or toothpaste, I can save up my money for 6 months to hopefully catch a pen pal? That's not right, Rob. So we tried to solve that problem and add value to the lives of all prisoners by undercutting our competition and undercutting our costs. And we did really well until our webmaster passed away. And the other two websites, I just had to end up letting go because we didn't have the manpower to do them. But I could absolutely use some help. If there's anybody out there that's tech savvy, that's all about helping prisoners with the mission statement of adding value to the lives of all prisoners and their families, I have websites and I have programs that are set up to benefit not only prisoners but their families and society too, all at the same time. So if there's anybody out there, please feel free to contact me. I appreciate you, Rob.
Listen, before we go, here's what I want to do. I wanted everybody to know by listening to you, they can tell that you're not wasting your time in prison. I want you to call back, get your last word in, close it out, and then give Jessica all your information. And thank you for your time, Brian.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Rob. I appreciate you guys.
Is there anything you want to say to end out this podcast? Is there any last words that you have?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for having me on the podcast tonight and giving me the opportunity to plug all of the things that you've allowed me to plug and to get on my little soapbox and wax poetic about all of the things that you let me wax poetic about. I'm absolutely passionate about what I do, especially as it pertains to the law. I went to school for this. I put myself through school for paralegal, and I anticipate being able to jump into the legal arena upon my ultimate release. So I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity. I appreciate your listeners listening to what it is that I had to say. And I look forward to doing some more interactions with you guys and hopefully some bigger projects.